guys, so as you know, I moved class online today, so we have some heavy lifting and some work to do, but we're not going to meet face-to-face to do the work. You guys are going to work on your own online through D2L. So the purpose of this brief video is to just kind of situate the work that I want you guys to do today and to be thinking about as we continue to analyze outreach documents and move toward Project 4. I introduced Project 4 in class on Monday and shared with you guys the assignment, which is saved on D2L if you need a version of it. The purpose of this brief slideshow is to continue our work analyzing outreach and how it happens, and to move you guys forward in thinking about Project 4. So on Monday we talked about what outreach is. You guys suggested outreach is reaching out. It's the act of making your mission known, inviting others to participate, and helping to achieve your organization's mission, assertively building a following or an audience for your communications, gaining traction for your cause. And another great suggestion was that outreach is anything an organization does that isn't necessarily directly a goal. The example we talked about was an event to engage the public. I gathered up and wanted to share with you guys a couple of examples of specific outreach methods engaged by two sample organizations, and the first is a community health center at Boston University. And on their website, they describe the type of outreach and outreach communications they engage in, including what they call street outreach, door-to-door outreach in the community, home visits, group presentations at nursing homes, schools, and other places, health fairs, and having a booth or a table at community events, offering drop-in hours or centers staffed by community health specialists, and then they also document the different types of communication media that they also use in sequence where they're separate from these outreach events, flyers, posters, brochures, etc. It's really interesting on their website. There's a portion that's designed to help people think about outreach, and on the site the moderator says, you've been asked to conduct outreach to a huge and diverse population, like Latinos living in specific neighborhoods, high-risk youth, GLBT communities, blacks at risk for diabetes, etc. How do you create a message and strategy that speaks to everyone effectively? And the moderator continues and says, you don't. You can't. And I thought this quote was excellent. She says, we narrow our targets because we recognize the diversity of the populations with whom we work. If we tried to create a message that spoke to everyone, we would reach no one. We narrow, understanding that we won't leave people out, but we'll create specific strategies for each subgroup in hopes of maximizing efficacy. And she continued on to talk about the ways in which community health outreach efforts could be more narrow and targeted, paying specific attention to elements like gender, specific neighborhoods, age ranges, race and ethnicity, family structure, income, specific health issues, activities or interests, immigration status, and much, much more. This was really a cool way to get our heads around how a particular organization invested in community health has to think about outreach activities. That outreach is situated, contextual, and has to be somewhat specific and attentive to audience. A second organization that engages in outreach that I looked at and wanted to share with you guys is Film Presence. They're a national organization, and this is how they situate outreach on their website. Outreach means different things to different people. We set out to help give form to certain types of outreach that balances making an impact with boosting overall revenue. This is a really interesting way to think about outreach. They recognize that, yeah, we want to change the world, we want to have an impact, we want to support our participants, but money matters, especially among people who are creating film. So they talk about their process, their outreach process, which they provide support for organizations to do, pooling contacts, researching potential partners, and more. And they talk specifically about key outreach moments, fundraising, development, and production. And again, all four of these have to do with people making independent films. Film festival launches, theatrical, semi-theatrical, or non-theatrical launches, post-theatrical or non-theatrical outreach. So two interesting organizations and two ways to think about outreach. Again, the purpose of Project 4 is to do another type of communication audit, but to focus specifically on outreach efforts and communication, and to rhetorically analyze the moves made in outreach documents. The product is going to be a 4 to 5 page report in the form of a memo. We talked on Monday about getting started. I suggested that first you identify an organization that writes in the public interest, and that you then start looking for outreach-oriented documents. And I really want to see diversity in the documents that you gather. You're going to have to go deeper than content on the front page of a website. I'd suggest that you guys look for documents like funding appeals, newsletter articles, editorials, legislative testimony, lobbying materials, an issues-based social media campaign, a media release, and then, of course, you can broaden that a bit. Another document you would argue is outreach-focused. You're going to do some analysis, and we practiced doing that on Monday, and we're going to do a little bit more of that today. So on Monday, we looked at a couple of sample documents. Those are also posted to D2L in today's folder. We looked together at example 3, a direct email support appeal. You guys did a brilliant job talking about the rhetorical moves made in this very short email. That the first person pronouns are soothing and personal, that there's a time-based push here. Time is running out. That the email establishes a need and identifies a problem, but importantly suggests a solution. You guys paid attention to fine-grained details, like the fact that the author put seasonal in quotation marks to kind of suggest that this is a less meaningful option than what they're suggesting, and more. So for today, what I want you guys to do is find and look at the outreach examples saved on D2L. Use the for analysis PowerPoint file, also saved on D2L, to analyze and take some notes on examples 2, 5, 6, and 7. 2 is a direct email appeal. 5 is sample legislative testimony. 6 is a public service announcement, a video outreach piece. And 7 is a fact sheet. So we're going to broaden things out and look at a couple of different types of examples today. Save your notes, bring them to class for discussion on Monday. We'll launch right into this in class on Monday. There's one other thing I want to talk about, a more specific point related to Project 4 that I want you guys to be thinking about over the weekend as you identify your organization, gather documents, and start thinking about how you're going to structure your analysis. You have to have a core focus of analysis. It's going to make your writing easier, and it's going to make your writing better. If it helps, you might think of this core focus as your thesis statement, an argument that you want to make based on your analysis, and that you're going to offer evidence and support to back up. So 3 just sample ways you might think about structuring your Project 4 report. One might be focusing on 3 different fundraising appeals by your organization and discussing the rhetorical moves they make for each of the 3 different audiences. Focusing, for example, on 3 different types of outreach documents and comparing and contrasting the rhetorical moves made in each related to the purpose of each. Focusing on 3 different types of outreach documents and analyzing how the rhetorical moves made serve to support the organization's mission. Now, these are just 3 ways to structure your analysis, and each of these focuses on 3 sample documents. You might want to focus on 1, on 3, on 5. It depends on what your focus is for Project 4, but the key thing is you have to have a key focus for Project 4. Again, some of the example outreach documents you're going to need to gather and think about analyzing to write the content of Project 4. Your next steps, after you take a look today at some of those other example outreach documents and take some notes, I'd encourage you guys, keep working on identifying an organization, start gathering documents, and start kind of pushing at the documents. Take some initial notes. What type of document is this? What does it need to do? Who is the audience? Who are the stakeholders? What are some of the rhetorical techniques engaged? Are they effective or not? And why or why not? These notes will lead you well to the work that you're going to do in Project 4, and they will also lead you into coming up with a structure and a framework for Project 4, what you want to be able to argue or say about these documents in your report. I'll be on email all day today. Feel free to drop me an email if you have questions, you want to brainstorm ideas about Project 4. Otherwise, for Monday, you guys have 2 chapters to read. We have a reading presentation scheduled on Monday, and then we're going to jump into continuing to talk about the example outreach documents and continuing to talk about Project 4 and the shape it might take. I'll see you guys in class on Monday.